4 pawn for the A pawn.
Well, he has nothing better than that. He has to have.
The king coming now to the center.
It's definitely the best chance, no question about it. Still, white king is cut off, but now not on the second, but on the third. It's very important for black to actually stop and blockade the e4 pawn. And of course, the c4 rook is tied to his pawn.
Rook c7, giving up the e4 pawn for the g7 pawn, but now also the f5 pawn is hanging, and then rook g5 picking up the h5 pawn. Lots of pawns can disappear in the next few moves.
On the other hand, after rook g7, black will not even take on g3.
Here he has to make a move. Why was he calculating so much? King takes f5, rook takes g7.
And I think he's just going to go a5, or the other option is to play rook a2 first. But I think he just has to push his pawn.
10 and king f6. Rook g5. 1.5 minutes for Magnus Carlsen. Now 25 seconds for Fabiano.
a5, rook h5. Well, actually, I think the game is lost, objectively speaking. And after a4, rook a5 will be the move. And now it's very important for white that he's not going to play g4, allowing black to cut his king away. He's going to go king h3. g4 would not be the best move. After g4, actually the best try definitely for black to go back to a3 and cut the king's path again. So king f3 is standing on the board. a3 was played. Rook a6 check. Now question to Fabiano whether he goes out to e5 or he goes back. Obviously he goes back to g7. Very difficult moments for Fabiano, as he knows that he's just going to pull off from the cliff, I'm afraid.
King to g2.
Yeah. Rook a2 check.
King h3. Rook back to a1.
Yeah, king g4 will be standing on the board, but of course Magnus is also nervous because he feels that the chances are there again as it was in game one, and whether the ghost will be around again, that he's spoiling his win or no.
h5. This is the closest he ever got since game one, you're right. A very similar situation in game one of the match, the classical game. The first one they played here, he didn't manage to win a winning position, and now it's a similar scenario, although the position is much simpler than game one.
Well, there is only practically one way of trying to save the game, that, well, king at h7 now. If, actually it's very difficult for black, of course, if let's say king g4.
g4 with 15 seconds on the clock for Magnus. Now he gets an additional 10 seconds, of course.
Well, actually this position is almost impossible to hold, even if you have an opportunity to save the game. Oops.
King g7 with 7 seconds.
Okay, of course it's still not easy. White definitely has to go with his king to h4 and g5, and that's what he's doing. And this is why it's extremely difficult for black, because white is going to go to g5 and again push one more.
a2 and king g5 is on the board. King f7.
h6.
The only thing that white cannot do is to step onto the f5.
Well, actually
then
now,
there's a rook check or the h file.
Now if rook c1, white could make a mistake by taking, and after that rook c5 going out, and this is actually there is, well, even this is winning actually. But if white would not have a check,
rook
but let's
b1.
go back to the game.
Rook a7 check, the precise way before Magnus takes the pawn. And now this is a simple win.